we're gonna go and take the all the egg whites and just pour them all in, and in our KitchenAid mixer, and then we're gonna stiffen them.
Let's start crank this thing up.
All right.
And you can tell it's ready because it's starting to get little peaks?
Yeah,
or?
it's starting to stand up. You can do it a little bit longer, but in this case, we're not like making pavlova, so we're just trying to get it fluffed up so we can give it a little more body.
Okay, so now what's next?
We're gonna pour it out into a bowl, and we're gonna mix the rest. I'm just gonna try and pour it out there. Okay, it's not, so I'm just gonna use my hands. People use spatulas. You know what? You're in the kitchen mixing stuff, so I'm a firm believer in using hands. Now, you know, maybe if I was using a hand mixer, I might do it slightly different. But with the KitchenAid mixer, you know, even when cookies, you know, you used to make cookies like, okay, let's do the liquid parts first, right? And then we'll do the flour.
I was always taught that.
Yeah, and I think that was logical then because it was just easier to mix it. But nowadays, I throw everything in.
At the same time.
Just throw it in there because the KitchenAid is powerful enough to take care of mixing everything consistently for you.
So sugar?
Yep, just toss it in.
And that's 1.5 cups of sugar, 4 tablespoons of lemon, and the 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Okay.
We'll try it out. We can always
do it up. Yep. And about how long are we going to be mixing this?
I don't know. I just leave it running and maybe go check something.
Just till it's smooth?
I want it to be consistent. Right now it has a consistency of like cottage cheese.
Yeah.
We're going to let it get much smoother than that. It'll be definitely creamy.
Okay.
Now notice that we've gone from a cottage cheese consistency to something that's definitely creamy. You don't see any little chunks in there. And that's what we're looking for.
So now we put the egg whites in.
That's it.
All right,
yeah.
Easy.
Now a lot of times when people have made egg whites, it's like, well, I need to fold them in gently. And that's usually the case when you have egg whites. But, and at first I did that. But what happened was I found that I'd make a cheesecake and I'd cut a piece and there'd be a big line of cooked egg.
No folding.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah.
You
run the risk of getting some just sliced egg through there, which is not that.
No.
So I just turn it on. Basically, we're not using it. We're just giving it a little bit of body. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the trick. I think the magic of getting a cheesecake that has that nice combination of fluffiness, but also denseness.
And again, about how long are we going to mix this up?
I'm going to have it on full. I'm just going to mix it until I see that it looks like it's all mixed in.
Okay.
And there we go. You see, before it was real creamy. Now it's a little bit foamier. All right. It's still a little bit thin on top, but don't worry about that. It'll all settle out in the cake. All right. There we go.
Okay, so Kevin, we brought the crust out of the oven. It's been in there about 10 minutes at 375. Checked it 3 different times while it was in there to make sure it wasn't burning. So how do we know it's not burnt, and what are we looking for?
Now, when we first put it in there, it was all a little bit lighter. It's got a little bit darker, but you'll notice around the edges it's getting a little browner. Again, it's maybe hard to see right now, but when we saw it from before, you'll compare it, you'll remember, and you'll see it's a little darker.
Yeah. So now what are we going to do?
We're going to go ahead and put the cream cheese into the cake.
Okay.
All right. Just go around the edge. Again, you might say it's like, oh wait, it's a little thicker down there and not quite as thinner up here. Don't worry about it. It's all gonna be okay. So something like this. Okay, now notice it's going up above the crust. That's fine.
So now we're going to put it in the oven.
Yes. We're going to put it in at 450 for about 10 minutes. What that does is it gets the inside of the cheesecake up to temperature, because otherwise you put it in at one temperature like 350 or whatever, and then you try to get the whole thing consistently even. Instead, what I do is I start it high, get the inside hot, and then I drop it down to like 250, 200,
but preheated to 450.
Yes, preheated.
Okay. So how long has this been in the refrigerator, Kevin?
It's been in overnight.
Overnight. Why?
You really need to make sure that the whole cheesecake is chilled thoroughly throughout the whole thing. Another thing is that before you serve it, you want to be able to cut it and it's easier to cut it when it's real cold. Now you don't want to serve it when it's cold. It's sort of like ice cream. People serve ice cream or cheeses sometimes when they're cold, and that's really not the ideal temperature. You don't want it room temperature, but you want it just cooler than room temperature.
So let's unwrap this thing.
All right, you'll notice that it's very tightly wrapped with saran wrap. That's because it's often the dessert is served as part of a larger meal that I'm working on. So I use lots of fresh garlic and fresh chopped onions. And if the cheesecake sits in the fridge, it'll absorb flavors from the refrigerator. So I always have to make sure and have it wrapped tightly, otherwise you'll have a garlic cheesecake. You ready for the big reveal?
I am.
Okay. Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter what the cheesecake looks like when you're done with it, because you're going to be plating it most likely, and people don't care if it has a crack in it. They're really into the flavors and the texture, and it's hard to miss with this recipe getting all of those important characteristics going. Okay. So with
That said, we still want to see what it looks like. It looks great.
See, right now you'll notice that this one didn't pull away, and sometimes it'll pull away depending upon how much of the filling you have in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just start this sticking it into the side here, pushing it all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to start getting a feel for how it's like. Now see, it's starting to break the edge there, and that I'm not really happy with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a chance with this one. I'm going to just expand the ring and just do it slowly and see if it's going to pull the cake apart. If it's going to pull the cake apart, I'll pull it back together and work on those places with this where it's sticking. I'm just going to hold it up with the back of my hand. I'm going to slowly release it here. Now, you just keep your eye, just sort of look around the rim of the cheesecake.
Oh, like right here.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Actually,
here?
this looks like it might be sticking down here. I'm just going to...
Oh, yep. There.
Okay.
Hey.
Not too
Take it
bad.
off?
Not too bad. Fully expand it. Take it off.
All right.
And not bad. Notice the crust around here. I mean, it's a really nice crust. It is a pretty high crust here, but hey, I'm a crust fan, so no complaints here.